I like the countdown. It makes me feel like I'm a professional. And I started off by talking like that, and obviously I'm not a professional. Okay, this is actually something we've discussed before. It's been a while. But composite functions. I think we've discussed it before. Hopefully I'm not confusing classes. Anybody remember this? A little bit, maybe, hopefully. I know we've at least done adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. I can't remember if we did these. Maybe that was a different class. Okay, regardless. Composite. What's the word composite mean? What that vocabulary to start with. Anybody? I know what you're thinking, Cade. Baseball bats.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
What makes it? Yeah, so it's basically combining two or more things. Yeah. Like composite, same prefix as compound. When you add things, combine things together, combines probably the right word. So that's in some sense what we're doing here is combining two things together, and how we combine them together is important. But combining two things together. So this asks us to find f of g of x. So the first thing I'm going to do is replace g of x with g of x. So really what we want to find is f of x squared. So when we have, I'm so used to having highlighters on the board, I can't do it now. We have f of x, we have an x right here. So in essence, when we find f of x squared, what we need to do is replace x with x squared in f of x. So we get 3x squared plus 5. Next question, can that be simplified any further? No is the right answer. That's what I'm assuming the sign. I mean, can you simplify x squared any further? No. 3 times x squared. You can't add 5 because they're not like terms. So that's as simple as it can be. So in this case, f of g of x is 3x squared plus 5. Easy enough in that case, I hope at least. But the idea here, hopefully you can see, is the basic idea is substitution. Substitute and simplify. Okay, second example. They're going to give a different notation, but it means exactly the same thing. However, there's a slight difference here. And you may want to look in your book to see exactly what it looks like in your book. Most people mistake it for a multiplication sign, and it's really a small circle. Or some people mistake it for an O, and they want to say fog. It's not the word fog either. So it's neither of those. It's a small open circle. So what this means again is f of g of, in this case not x but 3, which really means, kind of like we just saw, f of g of 3. So the first thing we need to do in this case is find g of 3. And again, going back to what we just talked about, what does that mean? We're finding g of 3. What do we do? Yeah, in the g function, we want to replace x with 3. So in order to find g of 3, 2 times 3, which is 6. So if g of 3 is 6, we can now replace that g of 3 also with 6. So now our task is to find f of 6. And like we just did with 3, now we need to replace x with 6, but this time in the f function. So f of 6 equals 6 squared minus 4 times 6. Here you go, Pascal. Throwback question. Order of operations. What do we do first?
Multiply 6.2.
Good. Exponents first, which is?
36.
4 times 6 is?
24.
And 36 minus 24 is?
18.
Nope.
27.
Nope.
Wow.
Good, Colin. Alright, so f of g of 3 is 12. So the idea here, I think, is, that properly understood, series of substitutions, right? A lot of substitute and simplify if you're properly understanding it. Alright, one more. We want to find both f of g of x and also g of f of x. So again, this means f of g of x. And if we go back to the first example, we plug the g function into the f function, wherever there's an x. Same idea on this one. We want to plug the g function into the f function. So really we're finding f of 7x, which means to do what, Stacy? Replace x with 7x. So 2 times not x but 7x minus 3. Unlike our first example, can we simplify? We can make one simplification, right? 2 times 7x will be 14x. So that should simplify to 14x minus 3. And again, at that point, not like terms, so it's as simple as it can be. So the next question is, what's going to change with g of f of x? It's a similar concept, but it definitely shouldn't be the same. Yeah, it's just a change of order, right? So we're finding g of f of x this time, which means that should become 2x minus 3. And now in the g function, we need to replace x with 2x minus 3. So 7 times 2x minus 3. Alright, as we simplify in this case, what do we need to do? Distribute in order to simplify. Final answer, Cade. 14x minus 21. So, final question to answer about these. Will f of g of x and g of f of x be the same always? No. That's a common mistake. People say, oh, they should be the same. Occasionally they will be the same. More likely they won't be the same. So you do have to compute or evaluate both of them separately because they won't be the same. So don't make that mistake. But, and again, occasionally they will be the same. It can depend on function to function. So, but again, going back to what we said initially, a lot of substitution, right? Substitute and simplify. Make sure you substitute the correct thing in the correct place, but substitute and simplify. Any questions? Okay.